Hello everyone. In today's video, we will discuss about chapter 3 from the book Snapshots titled as Ranga's Marriage, which is written by Masti Venkatesha Iyengar. So, let's get familiar with the author first. Masti Venkatesha Iyengar, he was a popular writer in Kannada language. He was the fourth person among seven recipients of Jnanpith Award for Kannada, the highest literary honor conferred in India. He was popularly referred to as Masti Kannada Asti, which means Masti is Kannada's treasure. He is the most renowned for his short stories. He wrote under the pen name Srinivasa. Main characters. First one is Shama. Shama, he is the narrator who is living in the village Hosali. Second one, the protagonist Ranga, son of the village accountant. He is the first one who went to Bangalore for further studies. Third one, Ratna, Ramarao's niece. He is one of the villagers. And Ratna, who is Ratna? She is Ramarao's niece, who is 11-year-old. Shastriji, village astrologer. About the story, Ranga's marriage is a story about a boy who returns to his village after receiving education in English medium school from Bangalore. The boy, when he returns to the village, the whole village flirts over him to see if there is any change in his personality. Justifying the title Ranga's Marriage, the whole story revolves around the narrator's efforts of matchmaking between Ranga, the accountant's son, and Ratna, an 11-year-old girl. Ranga, despite of his city education and modern views on marriage, falls for Ratna, and the two get married and establish a family in the traditional way. The story is written with a rustic lifestyle as its backdrop. Why? Because the writer also gives a funny description of a village named Hosali somewhere near Mysore but not to be found anywhere on the maps. In between the story, the narrator also describes his views on the increasing influence of English and the practice of astrological prediction. The main plot also involves the custom of child marriage, which was prevalent in India during pre independence times. So, let's try to understand this story with the help of summary. Ranga's Marriage by Masti Venkatesha Iyengar is a story about a boy who returns to his village after receiving education in English medium from Bangalore, as we have done in the introduction itself. The boy is the son of the accountant of the village. They live in the village Hosali in Mysore. The boy, when returns, the whole village floods over him to see if there is any change. The story is a first person narrative, and a major portion of the story is in a flashback. The speaker directly addresses the reader. The narrator is a neighbor of the protagonist. He introduces the story with the difference by first giving a detailed description of their village, Hosali. He praises the mangoes from his village. He asks the reader if he or she has ever heard of the village. But after finding no question, he replies to the question himself, for the village was not located in any of the maps for the English Babus, and the ones in our country forgot to put it there. Then he introduces Ranga, the protagonist, in a time 10 years ago. Ranga had gone to Bangalore for studies and returned home after 6 months. It was the time when English was a language not popular and few people used it. All used to converse in Kannada. It means at that time English was not in trend and their native language, that was Kannada, in that language people used to communicate. All the villagers arrived at Ranga's place and started scrutinizing him. But to their dismay, he was still the same Ranga. It means there was no change. And they left disappointed. However, the narrator stayed back and shared a few jokes with the boy Ranga and then left. Later in the story, we find that on the same day, in the afternoon, Ranga arrived at the narrator's home with a few oranges. The narrator judged the boy and felt it to marry such a well educated and humble boy. However, Ranga had no plans to settle as a married man. He put his views on marriage and he said that he wanted to get married to a girl who is mature and someone he could admire. He also added that if he didn't get a suitable girl, he would like to remain a bachelor. Ranga left after the discussion, and the narrator decided then that he would get the boy married. Determined, he began considering Ramarao's niece Ratna as a suitable bride for Ranga. She was from a big town and knew how to play veena and harmonium. He came up with a plan. He asked Ramarao's wife to send Ratna to his place to fetch some buttermilk. So she came on Friday wearing a grand sari. He requested Ratna to sing and sent for Ranga. Ranga reached the narrator's place and stopped outside the room as he didn't want to disturb the singing, but was very curious to see her face. So he peeped in. Ratna noticed the stranger and stopped abruptly. Ranga came in and the girl left. Curiously, he inquired about the girl, and the narrator cleverly played at his words. He told Ranga that the girl was married off a year ago and noticed the disappointment flaring Ranga's face. He was infatuated to the girl, he was attracted towards the girl. The narrator was happy. Why? Because his plan was working. As his next step of his plan for setting a match between Ranga and Ratna, the next day the narrator took Ranga to an astrologer who was already tutored about what to see. It was the meeting with the astrologer when the narrator's name is disclosed. Yes, what is the name of narrator? Shyama. The astrologer pretended to calculate something, and after some time he declared that the boy was in love with the girl who had a name of something found in the ocean. Shyama said it could be Ratna, Ramarao's niece. Ranga's smile was not hidden from Shyama, but the girl was married. The narrator took the boy to Ramarao's home and asked him to wait outside. When he came outside, he confirmed that the girl was not married, that there had been some confusion. After all, the narrator had to come up with something. Even Ranga then admitted that he had been attracted to the girl. Later, a conversation between the astrologer and the narrator is described how the astrologer sees that though the narrator had given him some clues, he could have found it all out by himself through astrology. The story moves forward 10 years, or to say, returns to the present time. Rangappa came one day to the narrator, inviting him at his son Shama's birthday. Obviously, Ratna and Ranga had been married and now they have a 3 years old son whom Ranga named after the narrator as Shyama. On finding this, the narrator mildly chides Ranga, saying that he knows that it is the English custom to name the child after someone one likes, but it is not fair to name him Shyama because he is fair complexion. So, this is the summary of the lesson Ranga's marriage. Let's discuss about the title. The title of the story Ranga's marriage is quite appropriate and suggestive. It at once sums up the theme of the story. The whole story moves around a single central issue, Ranga's marriage. It begins with Ranga's refusal to marry and ultimately ends with his happy married life. All incidents contribute to the central theme, so the title is completely justified. And as far as the message is concerned, there can be no set principles for a delicate matter like marriage. Marriage is more of an emotional matter. Ranga had returned from the city with certain preset notions, but all of them dissolved into nothing once he came face to face with beautiful and virtuous Ratna. Marriages are made in heaven and are not bound to set rules. This is the message conveyed by the author. So, this is all about the story Ranga's marriage. Thank you. Have a nice day.